Hello and welcome to One Cool Thing, PC Mag's daily show where we show you one cool thing which we are testing out here in the PC Mag Labs. I am Sasha Segan, this is Victoria Song, I'm talking very fast, and this is the Apple Watch 4. Is it for us? Is it for you? Who is this watch for?
This watch is for people who want a smartwatch and have iOS phones. This is basically the best smartwatch that you're going to get if you're an Apple user.
Okay. So I guess one of the big questions with the Apple Watch 4, and we'll step through the specs and we'll step through the size and the shape and the features in a minute, is whether people who have had Apple Watches before should be looking at this as an upgrade.
So let's say you have a first generation Apple Watch, second generation Apple Watch, you should probably upgrade. And if you want to continue that, the processing power is going to be a lot better. And the screen improvement, like just the screen real estate that you're going to get, it's going to be a drastic improvement from the Series 2 on backwards.
Okay, so this is a great place to start. Let's start with the screen. I think you have to take it off because I don't think the camera can see your watch.
Yeah.
So let's start with the screen. Let's start by looking at, now what series do I have here?
You have the Series 3 right there.
Okay, so this is a Series 3 and a Series 4, and now these are both the smaller version?
These are both the smaller version, so this is going to be the 38 millimeter versus the 40 millimeter, and let's bring it to this.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about the difference in the screens here.
Yeah, so you can kind of see that the screen is brighter, the resolution is better here, but you know, in terms of screen size, there's not a huge difference.
And what's striking me is that, like, once we're looking over here and we're looking over here, and it feels to me like am I not getting additional real estate? Am I getting the ability to see more data on this?
You are getting additional real estate. Like, so it is like what they said, 30% bigger or so. When it comes to actually reading things on your watch in terms of notifications, it is slightly easier. That's true. But that being said, if your Series 3 is still working pretty well, you're going to get the update to watchOS 5. And that's pretty much what is the good stuff here, you know? Like, what you really want the Series 4 for is the bigger size, the better hardware inside, and if you're interested in better heart rate monitoring, then you do have the this band is not helping me.
The EKG sensor.
the ECG sensor,
ECG. What's the difference between the ECG and the EKG?
Okay, so I actually asked all my doctor friends, because I come from a medical family, what the difference between an ECG and an EKG is. And that's basically English versus German. Electrocardiogram with a K is from German, and with the C, electrocardiogram, English. So that's basically the difference.
So it's the same thing except EKG is done by a German person?
No, actually most doctors will say EKG just because that's what it is. It's just from Germany. And so I was literally with doctors on Friday evening, and I was like, so what's the difference between ECG and EKG? And they're like, nothing. But Apple is making a branding choice here with ECG. EKG is more common in the medical community.
The more you know. The more you
know.
So, okay, so show me this ECKG sensor. No.
I can't, because that app is not out yet. This is coming later this fall. So this is another reason why you might want to wait on the 4, actually, because, yeah.
Now, we'll take a question in a sec, but so you mentioned something's coming later this fall, and that made me think of another flagship feature that they were talking about for this watch. It's supposed to tell when you fall, right?
Yes, that is supposed to tell when you fall, and trust me, Sasha, I've tripped many times this weekend trying to trigger this feature, and I could not.
So
I have jumped on my bed, I have launched myself onto the couch, I have launched myself into the beanbag in the conference room that we have here. I have not been able to trigger that particular feature, which you could say is good because you don't want false positives, and in these instances I am trying to trick myself into falling.
But you have been landing on your face over and over again.
I have.
And the watch has not considered that to be a concern.
No. I am landing on soft things. So, like, during the presentation, they were saying things along the lines of just, like, the physics of how you fall when it's an actual emergency versus when it's not is a thing. So, I don't know. I guess I would have to actually fall on concrete and potentially injure myself. I really wish I had this when I was doing the GoPro testing for gym, and I wiped out 3 times on a mountain bike. So I would have really liked this then to see whether that fall detection worked, because I actually did need medical assistance at that point.
Oh, no.
It was fine. I was just bleeding a lot.
Okay.
No big.
Let's take a question.
Does it weigh more than a Timex?
Depends on the Timex.
Yeah.
It's actually quite lightweight. I don't have the biggest wrists around, and I found it pretty easy to wear. It wasn't like flying around when I had the thing tightened the proper way. So yeah.
Does it weigh more than a cheap digital watch? Yes.
Yes.
But does it weigh more than almost any other smartwatch on the market?
No,
Okay.
it does not. There are plenty of smartwatches that are heavier and bulkier and bigger, especially for petite wrists. This is something that I feel women could actually wear quite easily, and they do. And it's we have a slightly fancier version of the Apple Watch 4 because this was the only one available when I went to the store on Friday. So we don't have the silicone watch. We have the Milanese Loop and the stainless steel case, which it's a good looking watch.
Have we just like spent our entire like product acquisition budget for the quarter on this Apple Watch, basically?
No comment. No comment. While we're talking about looks, there are some differences, like the Series 3, you can see that the microphones are on this side, and that the button is slightly protruding, and we have the very telltale red dot to tell you this is the LTE cellular version. Things have been pared down a bit on the Series 4. Like, you can see that there's a microphone here, and that's supposed to tell you, supposed to make it easier for when you're making calls. And the LTE indicator has just been turned into a
Ring.
A ring, and the button is completely flush.
Have you had coffee yet?
No.
I think I could tell, actually. Okay. Next question.
How durable is the screen?
The screen is pretty durable. As you can tell, I've been falling a bunch. I'm not going to drop it, cameraman. The screen is pretty durable. Do you want to go falling down a mountain bike? Probably not. Yeah. I don't think that a lot of people will say that the Apple Watch is really great for fitness, but there are better watches out there for really rugged fitness people.
But at least it's waterproof, it's swimmable, right?
Yeah, it is waterproof. I did take this into the shower. It did fine. It did open up a bunch of apps because of the water pressure. So that was fun, aka not fun.
This is actually I have to mention, like, one of the weirdest random cool features I found on the iPhone XS is that they've done something with the touchscreen sensor, so it works a lot better when the screen is wet.
Huh.
And I realized that that's something I've been wanting from phones for years that I didn't think was possible.
Yeah, no, because I was taking a shower with this the other day, and it was just starting to call people because the way the water was hitting it, and I was like, no, stop.
So let's talk about calls. Watch 3 versus Watch 4. They said that the call quality on this is a lot better.
It is better. It is better. The sound quality is better. It's much louder, which means when you call, you don't really... When I was testing this, I basically was in the park calling my roommate at the time and screaming into this thing, which made things a little awkward when you're in a park screaming in public, "Can you hear me now?" which is what I was doing. And there was a lot of interference. The calls were dropped.
Victoria, that's like a third of my job.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that's a third of your job, but it's not a third of my job,
Okay,
especially when I'm running and testing things.
Your
Can
job
you
is
hear
to
me
bleed.
now? My job is to bleed for this company.
Yes, okay. Another question.
So I realize it's sort of early on in the testing, but do you think it would end up being a worthy upgrade for someone who owns the Series 3?
Depends on what you're looking for. watchOS 5 is basically where you're going to get a lot of the basic fitness feature updates, and that's available for the Series 3. So what can you do now that you couldn't do before with watchOS 5? You can invite friends who you have have Apple Watches to challenges. You can see what your cadence is when you're running. That's something that you're still going to have on the 3. What you really want is, if this is something that you think that you're going to use a lot of phone calls for, because you do phoneless runs a lot, then yeah, the call quality is better. So far in the initial testing, I've had less dropped calls. That's anecdotal so far. And then the other thing is if you really care about the ECG feature and the heart rate feature, which we can talk about in a little bit because I am slightly skeptical of it, then yeah, this is going to get you that more so than this.
So yeah, let's talk about the ECG. Why do you want it? Like, there's a certain, I guess there's a certain subset of people whose hearts are about to give out, and they, need to tell whether their hearts are about to explode at any given moment. But for your average fitness-oriented person, why is this a relevant feature?
It's not.
Okay.
Basically is that's my personal opinion on it. I am not a doctor. Please don't take this as actual medical advice. But that being said,
you're not a doctor, but your mother's a doctor and your father's a doctor and your sister's a doctor and your brother's a doctor.
So my mother and father are not doctors.
Okay.
But literally everyone else in my family is a doctor.
What I'm saying is you're like Marissa Tomei on the stand in My Cousin Vinny in this case.
A little bit, yeah. And actually, most of my friends went into medical school. I've basically been talking to everybody about what do doctors actually use EKGs or ECGs for? What do they use them for diagnosis? What is the actual benefit? And actually, hot take, most of your general care practitioner doctors don't want you coming in with wearable data at this point.
Why?
They're not interested in it because when you take an ECG, there's a lot of factors that go into the thing. What did you eat this morning? How stressed were you? At what point did you take it? There's a lot of variables and control factors that the watch can't count for. So you're taking an ECG, your doctor has no idea what conditions they were taken under. You getting the graphs yourself, you have no idea what any of this means. Oh, it spiked once, okay, whatever. You have one bad result, that doesn't mean you're gonna die. You have one good result, that doesn't mean you're not gonna die. A lot of this is context, and that's something only a medical professional can provide to you. So let's say you do have AFib, and that's great. You should go to your doctor and work out a plan with them as to why this might help you. Because I've gone to doctors and gone this is my entire Fitbit history, and they're just like, well, that's great. All that tells me is that you exercise. That doesn't mean anything to me. So in this case, also here's the other thing about AFib. About 2 to 6 million Americans have them. The majority of them are over 60. A young person should not have AFib. If it does detect that you do have AFib, that doesn't mean this is particularly wholly accurate. First of all, this is a 1-lead electrode ECG. Most doctors will use 12 because you need to get the heart rhythm data from various angles. So this might be helpful to see whether you have AFib, kind of, if you're within the right age range. But let's say you're young and relatively healthy, there's probably a reason why you haven't had an electrocardiogram before, because they don't start that basically until you're 60.
Okay. Let's take another question.
Is the speaker louder?
The speaker is louder. We can actually show you that, kind of. Hey Siri, can you just talk so they can see what the speaker sounds like?
I'm not sure I understand.
So this is much louder than this one. When I was outside in a busy street of New York, I was really able to hear it. I like asking Siri existential questions just because it's pretty funny. But I could just hear it very easily. They have a new thing where you can raise to wake and you can just speak into it. So the understanding is a lot better than it was with the Series 3. That's probably just a software update, however.
So it might be true with watchOS 5 on the Series 3 as well?
It might be. We haven't gotten that far in that part of the testing yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff to test. One thing I will say is that this is one of the screens for one of the new watch faces that come with the 4, and you can get 8 complications on it. That's up from 5.
Okay. So now you said this is not the low end. This is the mid-range model.
This is the mid-range model.
What do we have in terms of model choices?
So in terms of model choices, you can get the GPS only. That'll be I believe that is $399, so about $400. You can get the one with cellular with the typical silicone strap. That is going to be about $499.
And that's an aluminum case.
That's
right?
an aluminum case.
Yeah.
Then you go up to
stainless
steel cases, and I believe this one was $799.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a super expensive ceramic one?
There's super expensive versions. It's Apple. You want the Hermes leather strap. There's the super expensive ones too.
Hey, fun fact. So when I was at the Apple Watch 4 launch event, they had a table with Apple Watches with various bands on them. And at one end of the table was a collection of Apple Watches with the like super exclusive Hermes bands. And that corner of the table had its own security guard. There was like this giant burly guy just standing over those watch bands.
I mean, Hermes.
Yeah.
It's fancy.
Oui.
I would advocate going on Amazon and getting a really cheap version of that. Because they look just as nice and cost a fraction of the cost.
Go online and go online looking for the herpes Apple Watch band.
Yes, the herpes Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, the watch bands are backwards compatible. So
Right.
if you have a Series 3, you can just use the same ones. It'll be fine. And to the person who asked before whether I think it's worth upgrading if you have a Series 3 with cellular, no, unless you really want the actual heart rate features with the electrode. I don't think you're not going to get that much of a difference. You already have watchOS 5 available. You can upgrade that, upgrade the software, and to be frank, the screen size, you know, I've been talking with a lot of friends. I've been looking at friends who have the 42 millimeter versus the 38 millimeter. It's not that noticeable if your eyes are okay. If you do struggle with reading, you might benefit more from that. But overall, if your eyes are fine, the processing is pretty much the same. You're gonna get the same software on there, so.
Next question.
Does it have a camera?
No.
One more thing, battery life.
Battery life is the same.
Okay.
It is the same. I had to charge it every night.
A little less than a day.
A little less than a day. You can stretch it out to about a day and a half. You basically have to charge it every night.
So Apple Watch versus any other smartwatch that's out there.
Well, that's okay. We gotta get some context in here. Versus any other smartwatch out there, this is the best smartwatch out there. In terms of experience that you're gonna get, it is the best smartwatch out there. But Android users, you are out of luck. You can't use it. This is for iOS people only.
I feel like there's basically no actual smartwatch for Android users right now because the Wear OS is in a coma.
As far as like Wear OS goes, yeah, I've not found a Wear OS watch that I can confidently say even compares to this in terms of experience. Like, this is pretty seamless. I get my notifications reliably. I can make calls on it. I can easily text back. That's really great. That being said, there are options for Android users out there. Fitbit has some really great fitness tracker / smartwatch hybrids. The Ionic is pretty solid. I think the Versa gets mistaken for the Apple Watch all the time in terms of look. And it has excellent battery life. You're going to get 4 to 5 days of battery life with the Versa and about 7 with the Ionic. So if you just want something that's going to track your health and you really want that to be your priority, I actually do think that those are better for you than the Apple Watch is going to be. The activity close your ring thing, that's great, but it's not really fitness oriented. The workout app in the Apple Watch, it's improved with watchOS 5. It's still not fully there in terms of metrics and data and everything that you want. It's more for a general use. Really, this is a smartwatch experience that you're getting. But the Fitbit Versa and the Ionic are pretty good, and they're a fraction of the price. The Versa is about $200, and the Ionic is, I believe, about $300. And actually, I just did the Samsung Galaxy Watch. I think that the Samsung Galaxy Watch for Android users, provided you don't want super accurate fitness metrics and you're just looking for a smartwatch experience, that's pretty solid and it's pretty strong. It looks great on the wrist. The bezel navigation is one of the most intuitive UIs I've ever tested on a smartwatch, so that also is a pretty good, slightly nicer looking option that you can have.
Okay, great. Any more questions out there? Terrific. So we are still working on our final text for the Apple Watch 4 review. That'll be up on PCMag.com soon. Thank you all for watching. This has been One Cool Thing with PCMag.com with the Apple Watch 4. If you are watching us live on Facebook, please return at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We will have another live Q&A about a great product we're trying out here at PC Mag. If you are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Consider coming over to Facebook and participating in the discussion. We will see you tomorrow.